Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NEN webinar. My name is Meenakshi, and on behalf of NEN and Wadhwani Foundation, I would like to invite you all for this webinar and also introduce our expert speaker, Mr. Rajanikanth. Rajanikanth has more than 13 years of experience in behavioral training, people development, sales, and product development. Prior to this, Rajni was a people manager with SAP Labs, managing larger teams, holding people and projects responsibilities. Rajni's passion for developing people, his instant ability to connect and help them to change their way of thinking are some of the unique capabilities of his training programs. Rajni holds a People's Management Certificate from Dale Carnegie Institute, Situational Leadership Certificate from Ken Blanchard, Training Diploma from OMI Institute, and Certified NLP Trainer from NLP. Rajni is a well-known lean and agile management trainer with immense experience as a coach, mentor for various lines of business in different organizations. Rajni brings a lot of experiential learning from the industry and ensures personal effectiveness through this program. Today he will share his experience having worked with companies and an entrepreneur of different size, right from an early startup stage to mature PE-backed companies. Before I hand over the floor to Rajni, here are a few reminders for the audiences. You will be on mute. You may ask a question by typing in the panel provided. Over to you, Rajni. Rajni?
Thank you, Meenakshi.
Thank you.
Very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the session, Building High Performance Teams for Startups. I'm Rajanikanth. Thanks, Meenakshi, again for the nice introduction. My passion is helping people to grow, to develop in corporates and as entrepreneurs. So today I'm going to share with you some of my few experiences and insights on how to build high performance teams. Whenever we ask this question to us, how do you really build high performance team? The immediate answer which comes to us is the expectation from the people. The first question that comes to any employee, even before he joins a startup, is, what is going to be my growth? If you as a startup CEO or a manager is able to make him realize what is meant by growth for that individual, I think you have taken the first step towards building high performance teams. So what is growth? Is experience growth? My brother, who works as a business analyst in one of the companies, when I asked him what is growth, he says, I have 10 years of experience and that is growth. At the same time, when we were discussing or having this conversation, we were traveling in a lift and there was a lift operator whose daily job is to come and operate the lift and then go from the first floor to the 14th floor and come back from the 14th floor to the first floor. And this lift operator says he has 14 years of experience operating lift. Is growth experience? Might not be. For many people, 20 years of experience is really 1 year of experience repeated 20 times. Then what is growth? Is money growth? A lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, when I talk to them on a regular basis, they say, Rajni, we are able to make a lot of revenue from our business, but as a person or as an individual, I am still not growing. Is money growth? Then that's another question to talk about. Some people talk about success as growth. Is success really growth? Sometimes we set very, very small goals to ourselves and try to achieve success and finally say that I'm successful. But is that success really growth? Might not be. Then what is growth? Is failure growth? Harvard Business School recruits people who are failed entrepreneurs and they are given the first preference because of the kind of experience they bring in. So is failure growth? Not sure either. Is title growth? Many people in organizations and corporates aim for titles. They wanted to go from assistant vice president to vice president and from vice president to senior vice president. They go behind titles, and once they get a title, they're not sure what to do next, or they're not happy completely. So is title growth? Or is progress growth? Sometimes we talk about India as a progressing country. We don't talk about India as a growing country. So is progress growth? Not sure either. People are fighting the rat race since they don't understand the meaning for growth. People are jumping companies because they don't understand what is growth. So what is growth really? A beautiful example can be narrated to a child. When a child is born, we don't say the child is growing. Then when do we say a child is grown up? We say a child is grown up when the child is able to contribute to the family, when the child is able to take responsibilities to take care of himself within the family. At that point of time, we say that the child is independent, the child is growing because the child is contributing in many ways into the education, into the family, into the welfare of others. It is contributing. At the same time, it is taking higher responsibilities once a child grows up. Okay, another beautiful example could be a plant. When do we say a plant has grown up? The plant has grown up when the plant is able to contribute in terms of shade or in terms of fruits. Only then we say the plant has reached a grown-up plant. So here we touch the two elements of contribution and responsibility. So what is growth? Is growth wider contribution? Or growth like Nelson Mandela, where he has touched many people in terms of contributing widely, at the same time he's a person who has taken higher responsibility. So growth from this angle might not be title, growth might not be money, growth might not be position, growth might not be success, growth might not be failure, but growth could be wider contribution and higher responsibility. If we can create an environment where each one of them can widely contribute in addition to their assigned work, everyone becomes a contributor. Organizations fail to build the teams because there are more consumers than contributors. So as an entrepreneur, if you want to really build high performing teams, can you build your team towards growth? If you can ensure that each person in the organization grows with you in terms of contribution and responsibility, the person grows and hence the organization grows. Isn't this the real growth? Wider contribution and higher responsibility. By making the people contribute and take responsibilities, each one of them grow and eventually the organization also grows. Okay, so what can be a practical example of how to implement this phenomenon into our day-to-day life as entrepreneurs or managers managing people? Adding a contribution perspective to a goal is a great start. A goal could be a performance goal. Is it possible to add a contribution perspective to a goal? This later would become the culture of the organization. Contribution is nothing but adding value. What do you mean by adding value? Yeah? Employees always feel that there are few lucky people who are given extraordinary tasks. But in reality, all the tasks are ordinary. An ordinary task become extraordinary tasks when small continuous value additions are injected into a normal task. Similarly, there is nothing called as a high performing team. A normal team which is able to generate value based outcome continuously become extraordinary teams or high performing teams. We all think high performing teams are already existing, but these were normal teams at one point of time. Once they were able to automatically generate a lot of value, they are becoming contributors, and once become contributors, they started growing. And that's the difference between a normal task and an extraordinary task, or a normal team versus an extraordinary team. A beautiful example is in one of the top service companies, the practice was to assign a mentor to an employee even before he joined the organization. This is what they talk about contribution. The mentor is given a budget to have at least 3 informal meetings with the employee before even they join the organization in a coffee outlet or a mall. So this is the kind of contribution they wanted to give it to the employee. Okay, so we have understood what do you mean by contribution. We have understood what do you mean by responsibility. We say contribution is adding value, but what do you mean by adding value? There is a beautiful law for adding value. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you make in payment. A beautiful example is that day we went to a Starbucks coffee outlet in Kormangla, and the beautiful example was we went and we had a nice drink with one of my friends, and over a discussion we found that we are not carrying enough cash or card. So we said we will pay by check since I was carrying a checkbook. Unfortunately, the principle which Starbucks follow is they don't entertain checks. So I was a little embarrassed because I was not carrying my card, neither my cash. I told them, what should I do right now? They told me, sir, you are a genuine customer to Starbucks. We would like to offer this particular drink free of cost to you. And from the next, every weekend or almost twice in a month, I take my friends to Starbucks, because the kind of experience they give, the kind of value which they give is much more than what we make to them in payment. That is called as the law of value. The mentorship example which I told, the organization assigning a mentor to an employee even before the employee joins in gives such a beautiful feeling for the employee, saying that the organization cares for the employee. That experience the employee might not get anywhere, and that's how the employee becomes loyal to any organization. So this is what I wanted to really touch upon. If you're able to make what do you mean by growth very clear to each and every employee of yours, and if you make them to contribute, I'm sure you grow, the employees grow, and the organization grows along with you. Many organizations at the time of recruitment fail to tell employee what is growth, or fail to understand what is growth for that particular employee. That is why we have a lot of expectation mismatch which is happening. So this is a very, very important aspect if you want to really build a high-performing team. Understanding what is growth, understanding what is contribution, understanding what is responsibility. Okay, going further, I would like to touch on the very important topic called as motivation. We all know we can have a high-performance team only if these teams are highly motivated. Yeah, that is a universal truth, but how do we motivate these teams? So I wanted to give a paradigm shift into what is relevant motivation to build high-performing teams for today's situation. Like any operating system, there are also versions for motivation. Initially, there was something called as Motivation 1.0. The Motivation 1.0 spoke majorly about job security, majorly about the salary which it is being paid to the employee, and from the role point of view, what role the employee is going to play. Okay, this existed for some time, and then Motivation 2.0 came into the picture, which means that if I wanted to motivate an employee, I have to give more additional benefits in terms of higher bonus, higher reward. We recognize him very strongly, more on a carrot and a stick approach, which means that if you do this thing, I will give it to you. If you meet this, I'll give you a promotion. If you stay longer and complete this particular task, I'll give you 1 day off from your weekly work. So this is called as carrot and a stick approach. If I give that, you will do that. If I don't give that, you will not do that, kind of an approach. And even now, many of the organizations are following the Motivation 2.0 approach. That is why we feel the teams are not motivated, because this might not be completely relevant for today's situation. Okay, so what is going to be more relevant for today's situation? Okay, now we come to the new Motivation 3.0. This is the new version of motivation. This is called as 3.0, which talks about autonomy. Autonomy talks about more how the people are empowered in taking their own decisions with respect to align to the organization goals. Engaging, how it is important to engage people in every decision making wherever possible, and how to collectively and collaboratively take a decision and help them to execute, giving necessary support. The third is helping the employees' purpose of why they have to join an organization match with the values of the organization, and then derive a common purpose and support each other in the common purpose, which means the employee supports the organization for its purpose and the organization supports the employee for his or her own purpose while they're working. In 1995, there was a discussion with an economist on creating two encyclopedias, okay, and one created by Microsoft. Microsoft came with an approach saying that they will create an encyclopedia, and the name of the encyclopedia was called as MSN Encarta, where they paid professional writers. So their professional writers contribute to this encyclopedia in terms of articles, and they were regularly paid huge sum of money. There was another kind of encyclopedia where tens of thousands of people who had passion to write, who was interested to have fun, who is interested in editing articles, writing articles, and reviewing articles without being paid even a single penny, will have to contribute. So they had these two approaches of developing one encyclopedia. And believe me, the first encyclopedia which released by Microsoft was MSN Encarta, but the encyclopedia which was done by 10,000s of people without having any reward mechanism, just by contributing to this particular purpose of having fun, engaging, having enough empowerment for contributing on this article, finally turned out to our famous Wikipedia. Think about the operating system of Linux and many other operating systems. The Linux operating system, which is an open source operating system contributed by many people across the world, is used at least in one of every 4 computers. So today people wanted more in terms of what they wanted to learn and how they can create a better world. This is the kind of motivation people looking at using these 3 elements called as autonomy, engage, and purpose. So this is called as Motivation 3.0, and this is going to be the future of motivating high-performing teams. Okay, we all spoke about the concepts of Motivation 3.0, but I would like to really touch upon some practical examples which you can really apply in your day-to-day life with your teams, how you can motivate the teams much, much, much better. To start with, this is called as encouraging innovation. What do you mean by encouraging innovation? For example, Google has this concept of 80-20, which means that 80% of the time any employee will work on the projects that are assigned to them, and 20% of the time employee can choose to work on any project of their interest which will contribute to the organization's value. So this is, and they run this as thank God it is a Friday, for example. Every Friday afternoon they take a break, and then employees are asked to contribute on different projects. As a result of it, 3 important innovations came out of Google. One was the Google Mail, which was founded by engineer Paul Butchett in his 20% of time. Second was Krishna Bharat was frustrated by how difficult it was for him to find online stories. He invented Google News with millions of visitors every day. Another beautiful example from 3M is 3M's president, William McKnight, and the chairman of the particular company encourage employees to work on something different from their ordinary work in this 20% of their time. And one scientist was really a technical guy, his name is Art Fry, came up with the invention of Post-it. I think all of you would be using Post-it in your day-to-day life. And this Post-it is one of the most popular offerings. Now it is available in 600 varieties and used across 100 countries. This is the kind of encouragement or the support these big companies give for innovation. So as entrepreneurs building great products, is it also possible for us to give some time for the employees to work on what they wanted, but from the contribution angle? This will make a great, great difference. So encourage innovation. 20%, 80% is one rule which you can follow to encourage innovation. This is a beautiful audit some of the product companies follow, called as an empowerment audit, which says that, yeah, we all feel many times that we have given enough empowerment to our employees, but do they also have the same feeling that they are properly empowered? We don't know. So it is important to conduct a kind of a 360 feedback or an empowerment audit. Could be a 1 page or 5 questions just to check whether the employees feel they have enough empowerment or not. Please understand, if there's no enough empowerment for the employee switches organization because they're not motivated. Yeah. The third aspect is one very important aspect some of the Fortune 500 companies, or successful Fortune 500 companies does, is involve employees in goal setting. Many of the conventional companies have top-down approach of goal setting, saying that what are the organization goals, what are the business goals, and what are the team goals, and what are the employee goals. There is no say for an employee to decide on the goals. Here, can we also empower them to set their own goals? So 90% of the goals or 80% of the goals we can have organization goals, but 20% of the goals can we have employee goals, where the employee wanted to contribute. This is what initially I said in the beginning. It could be 20% could be a contribution goal, and let the contribution goal decide by the employee. This will bring them more engagement in satisfying or meeting their goals. The fourth, create an environment that helps them to be creative. See, for employees to be creative, they have to have different kind of an environment. For example, one of the companies like SAP has an environment. They use something called the design thinking space, where people go to the design thinking space, where you have set up like an unconventional seating chairs, you have some video games kept there, you have some indoor games kept there, you have a wall where people can just scrabble about all the ideas, and whatever they think, they can just do in that particular environment. So a lot of people spend a lot of time for thinking space, because why organizations are not growing? Because people inside the organizations are not thinking. If you can really create an environment for people to be creative, that will make wonders. The next question from you could be, how do we create an environment that will help or foster creativity? Don't worry about it. Please ask your employees. Like these initiatives, please give these initiatives to the employees and ask them to drive it. That will bring a great employee engagement index to your organization. And many leaders think we have to always make our teams comfortable. But making comfortable, many teams, the survey talks about many teams getting demotivated, because people are in the comfort zone. They don't want to take extra, or they don't want to do more. One of the best way of motivating is to make your teams uncomfortable by really giving stretch targets. By giving stretch targets and working on little pressure, I'm sure the teams will come together and exchange a lot of motivation between each one of them. The risk factor is the manager should know what is the right amount of stretch. Point number one. The point number two is the manager should eventually know how much support he has to give it to the team. Under these situations, you should have the managers or the CEOs giving excellent support for the employees to perform under high pressure situations. Believe me, this works magic. Okay, rewards. We always think the rewards is going to be only annual bonuses or the pay hikes, and employees normally wanted a hike or a bonus. Have you ever encountered a situation that you give a 10% hike to an employee, and after 5 days he's again demotivated because he's looking for 5% more the next year? So these type of extrinsic motivations die after a point of time. The biggest motivation are intrinsic motivations. Okay, so how can rewards be intrinsic motivators? One of the mechanisms which you could follow is something called as a peer-to-peer reward. What do you mean by a peer-to-peer reward? A peer-to-peer reward is given to the employee by the employees of a team. Say suppose you have a 20-member team. Every month you nominate the most valuable player in the team, and the most valuable player in the team is nominated none other by the other team members. So instead of managers nominating the employee for the peer-to-peer award, we have the team members nominating the managers for the peer-to-peer award. Second important aspect is which one of the very important aspects for reward and motivation is sending a thank you card to the family. So the employees work for the organization day in and day out, right? So and the most important for an employee to work and increase his productivity is when he gets necessary support from his spouse or from his parents. So as an organization, isn't it our responsibility to also thank the family for supporting them? A company like Microsoft sends a thank you card to the family members saying that thank you so much for helping this particular employee contributing to our organization. For this, we really thank you for supporting us. And I've seen many of the parents laminating the thank you card from the organization and posting it into their walls. Third is, give them a surprise spot award. Spot award works magic. Many times we wait for the year-end appraisal to happen, or for an all-hands meeting to happen, or for an occasion to happen to get a reward. But catching the reward at the right time and rewarding the person is the most important aspect for motivation. So if your employee has really performed well, at that point of time, you should empower the team or the team managers to give them a spot award, catch them on the spot for good performance, and then reward them. The next aspect is to have an open door policy where you as a CEO or an entrepreneur working with teams have an open door policy at least once or twice a week where employees can really walk into your cabin, discuss their ideas, discuss their concerns, and for them it is a great sense of satisfaction because the upper management is hearing to their problems, hearing to their ideas, willing to support them. This brings lot of transparency within the organization. Great leaders have regular lunch meetings at least once a month with the employees. The employees could be selected randomly, and this could be also informally. You can also guess what is the satisfaction level of the employees, what are the empowerment of the employees within the organization, what are the problems they are facing through an informal lunch meeting. Because believe me, people open up more informally than formally. The biggest asset for any organization is people, and it is important as a leader for an organization or a startup to develop people. So assign a coach or a mentor to every employee. When we have joined a gym to keep our health fit, we have a coach, right? Similarly, when we go and play a sport, for example, if I'm a sprinter, I go and play a sport, I have a coach, a sports coach. But in life, we many times fail to have a coach, a life coach, who can give us different perspective, a mentor who can really guide us in the path. It is important for organizations to have mentors and coaches for employees. Many organizations start with this good concept of having mentors for the employees when they join up, but once they get experience, that philosophy gets faded away. But from my perspective, the organizations develop or grow only when the employees grow and only when the employees have enough support to guide them. So it is important for organizations to have coach or mentor for employees throughout their career or stint within the organization. Startups, I think this is a beautiful example to talk to you. Initially, you prioritize learning over profitability. Similarly, even for developing employees, it is important for you to prioritize learning for them than profitability. Because once employees develop, the contribution to your organization is going to be much higher. The contribution to the organization is going to be much higher. I'm sure profitability is also going to be much higher. So this is an aspect or an idea where you can practically start implementing the concept called as Motivation 3.0. Okay, I just wanted to touch on this very important aspect of communication where I feel 70%, the survey talks about 70% of the issues in building up teams is all because of communication issues. So how can we as a team avoid communication issues, or what all the aspects we have to encourage our employees to communicate effectively? So one important aspect I want to talk about is what you can see in this slide. In this slide, if you see, there are 5 monkeys scratching their head. There is a banana on top of the ladder. There is some water on the banana, and a lot of question marks all around. The story goes like this. The first monkey tries to take up the banana. At the time, the scientist around this cage showered cold water on this monkey. The monkey is frustrated, comes down the ladder, and goes to his seat. Now the second monkey is trying to take up the banana. So what happens when the second monkey is trying to take up the banana? The first monkey pulls the second monkey down. The third monkey is trying to take up the banana. The other 2 monkeys pull the third monkey down. The fourth monkey tries to take the banana. The fifth monkey tries to take the banana. All the monkeys pull the monkey down. Now the scientist cleverly replaced the first monkey, the first old monkey, with the first new monkey. Now when the first new monkey is going to take up the banana, the other monkey pulls the monkeys down. Then the scientist replaced the second old monkey with the second new monkey, third old monkey with the third new, fourth old monkey with the fourth new, fifth old monkey with the fifth new. And very smartly, they stopped showering cold water. Even after 2 years, they found that none of the monkeys were trying to take up the banana, which is kept on the ladder, because they assume that something will happen to them if they go and take up the banana. They fear that since my previous people or my predecessors did not try this, I also don't want to try this. So many times, like these monkeys in this scenario, we as a team or employees in the organization also fail to ask why, because fearing rejection, fearing what others would think, fear the assumption-driven angle. So we work on a lot of assumptions and a lot of fear. So many times the fear or the assumptions can be eradicated only by asking questions. If these monkeys have taken the courage to ask the question, why should not I go and take the banana, the answer would have been very simple. They would have benefited. Similarly, many times, because we don't ask any question, we get a time delay. Because we don't ask enough questions, we get a customer requirement totally wrong, and the delivery goes completely out of the way. So as managers, it is important for each one of us to help people ask questions or encourage people ask questions. And I want to share you a very, very important philosophy or a proven practical technique how to ask questions in order to find the root cause of the problem. This is achieved by something called the asking why 5 times. The power of asking is very important when you talk to the customers. The power of asking is very important when you talk to your teams. The power of asking is very important when you coach employees to do that. So how do you really help the employees to find the root cause of the problem? By asking why 5 times. By asking why 5 times. Okay, how to ask why 5 times? Why. Very simple. This is how we ask why 5 times. The why is part of the lean management concept pioneered by Toyota, and they implemented this example practically. A supervisor comes to a manager and tells his manager, "Sir, the mission which is not working right now." So normally a manager, what he does, they will ask, "Okay, supervisor, please go and service the mission," which might be a huge cost. But this manager, knowing the 5 why concept, asks the supervisor, "Why has the mission got repaired?" First, why. The supervisor thinks for some time and tells that, "Sir, the mission got repaired because the spindle shaft in the mission is not working." The manager, again, wanted to apply the 5 why concept, asked the why the second time. Why is the spindle shaft not working? The supervisor goes and finds out and comes and says that the oil pump within the spindle shaft, which was rotating, is not rotating properly right now. The manager applies third why. Why is the oil shaft not rotating properly? The supervisor analyzes the problem again and comes and says the oil pump is not lubricating because the air filter is blocked. The manager looks at the supervisor and asks again the fourth why. Why is the air filter blocked? The supervisor thinks for some time, goes back and says, sir, the air filter is blocked because there is a lot of dust in the air filter. The manager now is applying the 5i, asking why is there the dust in the air filter. The supervisor thinks for some time, goes and sees why there is a dust, and finally finds that the person who has not cleaned the dust in the air filter is absent for 2 days. So the person who is supposed to clean the dust in the air filter is absent for 2 days. So the manager went to the oil pump, took the air filter, cleaned it, and finally the whole machine was working. This is how you can find the root cause of any problem by applying the 5i techniques. Remember, the 5i's apply to find the root cause of an issue and not the root cause of a person. So when an employee comes up with a problem, it is not the manager's responsibility to answer the problem. Many managers feel extremely satisfied when you are solving the employee's problem. And please remember, it is not your duty to solve employee's problem, whereas it is your duty to find the employee, solve the problem on his own by going to the root cause analysis. So next time when an employee comes with a problem, ask him to apply the 5i techniques, ask him to find the root cause of the problem. From the root cause of the problem, ask him to give you at least 3 solution proposals to find out the problem. So this techniques will help you to start concentrating on many other bigger issues than small issues which crops up daily between employees. So for me, this is a very, very important aspect which is clearly missing in most of the team, the power of asking or helping the people to find their own answers. Okay, quickly I wanted to give you a small formula or a method or a technique how you can help bridge communication gaps. A very important aspect of an process or an agile management practice is something called as a Scrum meeting. Many product companies follow the Scrum meeting, and this brings all communications issues to close. So what is a Scrum meeting? One, all Scrum meetings are stand-up meetings. Scrum meetings, you invite 15 to 20 employees, ask them to stand in a circle in a conference room which has no chairs. It is mandatory that employees should not sit when they have a Scrum meeting. So I think it is intelligent to remove all the chairs in the conference room, and this should be a stand-up meeting. Second, the Scrum meeting happens only for 15 minutes. Only for 15 minutes every day. For example, 10:30 to 10:45, all employees should meet. They should stand in a circle and they meet only for 15 minutes. This takes place every day. And what happens in the meeting? In the meeting, everybody answers only 3 questions. Everybody answers only 3 questions. They talk about what did you do yesterday? What will you do today? Are there any roadblocks or challenges? I repeat, stand-up meetings are called as Scrum meetings. It happens 15 minutes every day. The employees come, stand in a circle, and they talk about only answering 3 questions. What did you do yesterday? What will you do today? Are there any roadblocks? Once everybody answers this question, the important aspect is at a point of time, we know as a team what we are doing. We know what are the issues with respect to the particular team. And we also know if employee is facing a problem and they are stuck and somebody has already solved the problem earlier, they can support them. If this is made as a practice in the organizations every day, I think we are faster in our growth. Okay. Next, I wanted to also discuss a very, very important concept which will only take 1 minute to implement. So this is a beautiful concept derived from Ken Blanchard in his book called as a 1-minute manager. And I practically implement this in my day-to-day life with my teams. And this has given my employee engagement index to be the highest for the last 4 years when I was working with different corporates. This is called as 1-minute manager. What do you mean by 1-minute manager? The managers, if you see the goal setting process of setting with the teams, the goal setting happens normally 3 times or 2 times for any organization. We start at the beginning of the year, and at the middle of the year we have a review on the goal setting. At the end of the year we do a review with respect to the performance on the goals. But in a changing environment, this doesn't work. And unfortunately, many organizations fail because what they set the goals at the beginning of the year and what the employees perform are totally mismatched. Have a total mismatch every time. So how to make this much better? So something we have called as 1-minute goal setting. The second aspect is we always wait to give appreciation, which is a great form of reward and motivation to the employees. We wait for some occasion to happen. We wait for forum to happen. We wait from some town hall meeting to happen. So we normally wait for an occasion to happen to reward an employee. By the time the employee sometimes could have really forgotten what he is getting rewarded for. So this is called as 1-minute praising. And another thing I want to talk about is something called as 1-minute reprimand. So in 3 minutes, you can become a great manager. You can manage your teams much effectively just by spending 3 minutes every day. Isn't that magic? It is magic. Let's talk about a 1-minute goal setting. See, daily, this could also, if you're practicing a Scrum meeting, you can also bring this approach. Make clear what are the responsibilities of the employees are and what they are being held accountable for. Make the responsibilities and accountability very, very clear. In that, you have to set a goal. The employee should agree to that goal. So set agreeable goals. And tell them what a good behavior looks like. If you're able to complete this particular report, this will add a lot of value to the organization, and we will be able to take this particular report and present it to our chairman or the CEO, who is going to meet a venture capitalist. And the report is going to be good. We are going to be getting appreciated by the whole organization. So this is what describing good behavior is all about. The third important step is write goals in 250 words. Many times the goals are just told, and you can clearly understand when one person is communicating and the other person is just listening, there is a communication loss of 25% every time. So what you talk and what the other person might understand might be totally different. For this, just take a 5x3 inch card and just write your goal, what is your expected behavior of the employee, and then give it to the person, saying that, for example, you can say that, okay, today, Ramesh, this is your goal for the day. You have to complete a business analysis report by 4 p.m. today, and then come back to me and then give me a small presentation on what was the report, what was the result of the report, and your analysis on this particular report. By seeing that, I will be extremely happy. Once I finish seeing this, I will forward this particular report to our chairman. So write the goal in 250 words, very clear, agree with the employee. And at the end of the thing, look at performance and how it has matched the goals and give feedback. Tell once a person has completed the task, tell him what was the goal about and what was his performance against the goal, and give immediate feedback. The entire activity will take only less than a minute if you start practicing it. This is called as 1-minute goal setting. Second is 1-minute appreciation. Can I ask each manager who is participating in this webinar to appreciate people whenever they find they're performing well instantaneously? Just spend 1 minute for you to appreciate the people. And if you start appreciating the people for the good work they have done, the people will be extremely motivated. And if each person is motivated in the team, that builds a high-performing team. Okay, how do you give your 1-minute praising? The important thing is catch them right and praise them. Once an employee is able to complete all his tasks, if an employee is able to meet his sales by 20% above the target set for him, catch them right and start praising them. Please be immediate. Don't wait till the end. Don't wait for an occasion to happen to praise. Just praising alone, the employee might not be motivated. Tell them or describe what they did right and what you liked about it. Employees are always connected by emotions, and so feelings play a very important role. So share your feelings on what they did right and how it helps teams and organizations. It is important to share your feeling. It is important to tell them what they did right. And not that, it's not over. Encourage them to do more of the same. So once you catch them right, once you give immediate appreciations, once you describe what they did right, once you're able to share your feelings on what they did right and how it has helped the team and organization, giving them an overview picture, and you encourage them continuously to do more of the same, believe me, this is called perfect intrinsic motivation. Anybody would like to get appreciated or noticed. Anybody working in a team wanted to get visibility. And anybody in the team would crave for appreciations. So if you're catching it right, and if you're making sure you're giving genuine right appreciations, please make it very often, catching them right and praising them. So this is called as 1 minute praising. Okay, this is the third 1 minute is talk about 1 minute reprimand, which talks about you're giving you feedback, how you can give direct, constant feedback on people when you catch them not performing well. That is also an important part of the manager. As a manager, it is important not to be famous, but as a manager, it is important to be right. As a manager, it is not important to be popular. As a manager, it is important to do things right. A right manager, a manager who does his job right, appreciates the right time, also gives tough feedback when the employees are not performing. So how do you give the feedback? Make it tough on performance and not on the person. Always we are talking about issue-based feedback. Whatever is the issue, whatever is the performance, we are tough on the performance and not on the people. And as praising, also feedback has to be immediate. Don't wait for the year-end appraisal and talk about the things you have done in February was not satisfactory, that's why I'm not giving you an exceed expectations. This doesn't work. The employee will lose credibility in the manager. Instead, be immediate, specific, and describe the poor performance. Tell them how you feel about what they did wrong. It is very important to tell your feelings as well again. How did you feel what they did wrong in spite of you setting clear goals for them? Encourage them and remind them how much you still value them as a person. See, the value is not getting appreciated. And you tell them that you appreciate them as a person or the value they bring in, but you're just tough on the issue. And very importantly, close the conversation telling them whatever we have discussed is over, mistakes can be made, but mistakes should not be repeated. That is a message you as a manager have to give your employee. So within 3 minutes, you can be a great manager. 1 minute goal, 1 minute praising, and 1 minute reprimand. Okay. The last topic which I wanted to touch upon in this webinar is hiring talent. Most of the organizations are not sure why they have to hire people or what kind of people they have to hire. If the organizations are clear on what roles they wanted people to be hired, then the expectation is set. Jim Collins, in his book called as Good to Great, talks about boarding the right people on the right bus. He talks about right people should be on the right bus. If there is right people on the wrong bus, the entire objective fails. Or the wrong people on the right bus, then also the objective is failed because it doesn't know where it is going. So hiring is a very, very important aspect to understand what kind of people we have to build our organization. The first important aspect of hiring, do we really have a profile built and understand clearly what are the expectations of this profile before even we wanted to start hiring? Before we start hiring, it is very important for the managers, the entrepreneurs and the CEOs of an organization or startups to understand what kind of people do they want within the organization. So it is important to build the profile. That is the first step. The second step, I always recommend the philosophy of don't hire the best. What do you mean by don't hire the best? See, for example, for a maintenance kind of a role, if you're looking at to staff your organization, and if you have a very creative product development guy coming into your organization or a design guy coming into the organization, he might be the best in what he is doing, but he might not fit what you wanted. I interviewed one person who was extraordinarily brilliant, even than some of my high potential performers in my team 3 years back. Any question I ask him in the interview, he's able to give answers which is above my expectations. He's able to solve any puzzles, he's able to solve any algorithm, he's able to make a beautiful design to any problem statement which I'm able to give. I felt he's one of the highly capable person. But when we're having an internal discussion with the vice president of the company, we discussed and decided not to hire the person because we are looking at somebody to maintain a particular product who will talk to the customers, who will do a routine job, who is motivated to do a routine job, and so on and so forth. So though this guy was very good or the best, we didn't hire him because he was not the right fit for the organization. So it is important to build your profile and don't hire the best. Hire which role will fit your organization the best. Third is, an important gap we miss in hiring is to understand the employees or the candidate's strengths. And we just make a lot of judgments in the interview. And the cost of hiring, we really fail to spend a little more than the cost of hiring, and then later when the employee joins, we spend a lot of effort and money just to maintain the employee or to take a lot of knowledge transfers when he is leaving the company. What here I'm trying to say is, it is important to evaluate a person before he joins the company. It is important to find out what his strengths are. How do you find out what his strengths are before he's working? There are beautifully proven scientific tools, psychometric tools available in the market to find out the strengths of people. For example, there are tools like MBTI or disc profiling or the fits analysis and so on and so forth on the market, which clearly tells us what are the employees' strengths, what are the employees' weaknesses, and what is their natural inclination is all about. By doing this for one of the organization, a startup company, we were able to figure out that the organization had a lot of thinking people who were more analytical, logical, data-driven, process-oriented, and that organization had a lot of people who are called as intuitors, meaning they can bring new ideas, creativity, they dream about the future, they collaborate, they work on the concepts kind of people. There were also a lot of feeling people, which means that they are excellent team people, loyal to the organization, it shows lots of empathy and compassion to the teams, so on. But a very important element was missing, and these were executing kind of people. They're called as sensors or executors. So then we made a profile for hiring executors. So whoever came for the interview, we made them to undergo a psychometric assessment, and we took only people who are very good at execution. Through that, and this information came to us very clearly through those psychometric assessments. So it is important to understand people's strengths and then ask them to join the organization. Many times we feel that employees should multitask, they should do on a variety of tasks and all those stuffs. But if you want one person to be an expert on the topic, please help him to build on his strengths. Weakness cannot be converted as strength. Weakness can be made as a neutral. But remember, if each employee is able to work on their strengths and build on their strengths, I'm sure the strength of the organization will definitely go up. Another aspect is something called as a motivational fit. Check for the motivation. What are the values? Why is he joining a particular organization? What is his growth? What does he mean by growth? That's called as a motivational fit. Role fit, whether that guy will be right for what you are expecting. For example, you have a design profile and the guy comes from a maintenance background. Will he be fitting for a role fit? Then we have something called as an organizational fit. More importantly, the organization fit is important because the value of the employee and the value of the organization should match. The employee value and the organization value does not match. This does not go forward at all. For example, if the organization is not believing in an informal culture, for example, if the employee wanted to have his own timing to work, and the organization is not allowing a work from home kind of an option, it's very, very strict on the discipline front in terms of timings, then the value does not go well with the employee's value and the organization's value. So the person who's getting recruited clearly will be a misfit from the organizational standpoint of view. So hiring talent, for me, these are the 6 important factors. First, you understand the profile which you wanted people to hire. Second, don't hire the best, hire the right person. Third, know the strengths of the people. Fourth, motivational fit. Check what the employee means by growth for him. Check what you mean by growth for you. Match it. Role fit, whether he's right person for the right role. Last is organizational fit, whether your values of the organization and the values of the employee is matching. Okay, always I think the team strength is like this. Think of it as I to the power of V. An individual's power is raised exponentially with the help of a team. That's how we build the network. When the network grows, the organization as well grows. Finally, remember that relationships are like any living thing. If they are not getting stronger, they are getting weaker. If the emotional deposits with the team is not going higher, if the team is not getting motivated, then they are getting demotivated. This is my last slide for the day, and I would like to end this presentation with a small proverb. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb, then you spend its whole life believing that it is stupid. So ask people to work on their strength. Don't just judge people on their weakness. So don't judge a fish and ask the fish to climb a tree which is not possible, and then believe the fish to be stupid. That's not possible. So help people develop on their strengths. If each one of them in your team is able to have fun in their work, is able to really enjoy the work they are doing, and each one is passionate about what they are doing, I'm sure that is growth for an individual, and that is growth for a team, and that is growth for an organization. As entrepreneurs, we always believe in building greater products. I think it is time for us to also start believing to build greater teams, because greater teams build greater products. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is Rajanikanth for you for this webinar. Over to you, Meenakshi.
Thank you very much, Rajanikanth. Before we end this session, there are a couple of questions that the attendees have asked. One by one, I'm going to ask you those questions. The first question is by Karthik Raichura. He wants to know, won't the scrum meetings become repetitive for someone who's doing a desk job? Hello?
Yeah, Meenakshi, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, the question is, won't the scrum meetings become repetitive for someone who's doing a desk job?
Okay, that's a good question. See, Karthik, the scrum meetings will not get repetitive, because in a meeting you are just going to understand what the employee is going to do today, what he has done yesterday, and any challenges he's facing, and any contribution can he make. The desk job also can become have a lot of creativity into their work. As I said in the beginning of the presentation, we can convert an ordinary desk job to an extraordinary job by just adding value. And Scrum meetings can be a good place where other people can give a lot of inputs on how to improve the desktop job experience. So you can also add this particular aspect in your Scrum meetings, how each one of them can add value. Thank you.
There is one more question from Arpan Bhattacharya. We are a startup and currently we are a team of 30 people. We as a top management are currently trying to move out of the delivery cycle and concentrate on the marketing and product venture. But we are not able to do that fully because there are a lack of people who can take responsibility and execute the process. But we don't have a huge money. We don't have huge money to hire or high quality delivery managers as our turnover is not much yet. How do we deal with such situation?
Okay. I think it's a very good question. Thanks for asking this question. Here, I understand that it is important for you to grow, but hiring at this point of time might not be the right choice. But the important aspect you can work on is to start building people by effective delegating. A lot of times we feel that, or we are not sure why delegation fails. We ask somebody to take responsibility, they don't take responsibility. We give a work, the work is not completed. Most of the time managers fail to delegate because they feel that they have to do the work all over again. Another aspect of delegation why it fails, because managers don't trust. But there is one important aspect of delegation. Delegation is successful only with development. So delegation with development is success. Delegation without development is failing. Which means that if you're going to delegate to somebody and if you're able to make them understand that this delegation is going to help them develop, and if they agree on this and start executing, they start taking higher responsibility, they start contributing. That is how you can build successes for your team, or you can build the second line of defense for your team. And at this point of time, I feel it is very, very important to build successors. So start delegating with development.
Right.
Thank you. Anubhav
Agarwal asked you a question: how to hire right performing people in BPO or voice processes? How to retain these employees in BPOs?
Okay. One is, as I discussed in this presentation, how to hire the right person. First, it is important for us to be clear what kind of person we wanted to hire. Second, we check for the job fit, motivational fit, and the role fit of the particular person. And third, the most important, to understand what the person is in terms of their strengths. A lot of times we recruit a lot of people into the BPO and then they leave the BPO within 6 months to 1 year. We're not able to retain them. One, we don't understand what do they mean by growth. So if we can understand what do they mean by growth, if we can really motivate them with the right amount of approaches. Today in this webinar, we discussed about at least 7 to 8 kind of approaches, and empower the team, because today's motivation is all about autonomy. Today's motivation is all about creating a better work atmosphere. So if you can involve people in this whole process, I'm sure they'll start getting motivated. And when you're hiring, I think it is important for you to understand the right profile and the strength of the employee before they join the organization. Thank you for asking this question.
Just 1 minute. Okay, Siddhartha wants to know, will it not hinder the growth of a startup if they give 20% of the time for the employee's idea?
Very good question, Siddhartha. This 20% of the time, probably you might get some better ideas for developing another new product with this contribution. And just make sure that 20% employees don't spend on something which is totally different from the organization's perspective. Ask them to work on any project which will add value to the organization and encourage and support in those. So if you get a new idea or a new product which is going to add value to the organization, I'm sure the organization is going to benefit. So let the employee contribute from the organizational perspective, where his contribution is evident and supported. All the best ideas have come from this 20% of contribution, from Google's, Gmail, from G-Talk and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Right. One last question.
Sure.
How do we as a startup know who is a high performer or at the time of interviewing or hiring?
Yeah, that's a good question. At the time of interview or hiring, you can't understand who is the high performer because performance is judged against the goals and the tasks given to the employees. But at the time of hiring, you can understand what are the strengths of the person and what is the motivation of the person and whether the person is capable of delivering by asking few intelligent questions. But you can't judge whether the guy would be really a high performer because that can be judged only after the point of time. Or another tip for you is give a small project at the time of interview and give 1 week time for the employee to go and work on the project and come back. And once if he's able to come and work on the project and then deliver above expectations, then you can hire him. So just don't finish the interview within the same day. Take 1 week or 2 weeks to finish the interview. Ask him to give you a design or a prototype, which will help you to give it to the customer. Thank you. Hello? Thank you. Hi, Meenakshi, you there?
Hello, Rajanikanth?
Hello. Yeah, Meenakshi.
Yeah.
Meenakshi.
How can a team member motivate himself when the boss often reprimands him in front of other, including his subordinates with whom he's managing the team? So, basically, when a team is there, there's a manager and the manager is a little too stern with his reprimands. How can employees keep themselves motivated?
See, as an employee, it is very important to tell his managers his thoughts and ideas. So when the manager is continuously giving him negative feedbacks in front of others, it is the employee's responsibility to go on a one-to-one with the manager and tell how his reprimands are really hurting him. Tell the feelings and how he is feeling bad about the manager's comments in front of others. And request the manager one-to-one saying that next time not to really tell all this feedback in front of others, whereas he can give all the feedback in a one-to-one. So it is important for an employee to be assertive. Otherwise, the employee gets demotivated every time the manager, reprimand him. So saying yes to yes, saying no to no is very important, and giving feedback to the manager as well is equally important. So that manager knows next time he should not do the same thing.
Right. Rajanikanth, just one last question I just popped in. Subramaniam Vincent wants to know how easy access, how do we get an easy access to the psychometric assessments, or do they have to connect to HR professionals and trainers like you to actually get these psychometric tests?
Psychometric test, it is important because there should be a person who can interpret the scores on the psychometric test for the organization. So there are HR managers who are trained on this. There are training people, training leadership trainers who are trained on this. So what the process is, the trainer undergoes a certification process of how to interpret the scores, and then he translates these scores for the employees. So for example, or if somebody is actually interested to get certified to be an assessor in a psychometric, they can directly approach various instruments, various companies who does this. And you can just drop me a mail, Subramaniam, I can connect you to different people, or I can give you different information on effective psychometric tests.
Right then. With this, we end up our session. Attendees, if you have any more questions regarding the session, you can write to us as well as to Rajni at the email ID is shown on the last slide, rajni@winwin.org. The next webinar will be conducted on 25th of June on HR policies and benefits for startups. If you found the session interesting, tweet us at any in India. The recorded version of this webinar will be available at www.youtube.com/ user/eClub NEN online by tomorrow evening. That was a really interesting session, Rajni, and the attendees, thank you so much for keeping the questions coming. Thank you very much for this interesting session. And hope to see you next in the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good day.